You are, right now, mostly water. Around 60% of your entire body is it. And here is the uncomfortable part. You are leaking it every single second. Every breath you exhale carries a little fog of water out of you. Your skin gives it off silently. You lose it when you sweat and when you go to the bathroom. You are a bucket with a slow, permanent leak in the bottom. And the only thing keeping you topped up is that you drink. Add it all up, and you lose somewhere around 2 to 3 liters of water a day just by existing, awake or asleep. So what happens the moment you stop replacing it? A quiet countdown begins, and your body starts making some ruthless decisions about who gets water and who does not. The strange thing is where the trouble shows up first. It is not your throat. It is your mind. Long before you feel properly thirsty, losing just 1 or 2% of your body's water is enough to fog your thinking, sour your mood, and drag down your concentration. That headache and irritability you get on a busy day when you forgot to drink is not in your imagination. Your brain runs on water, and it feels the shortage early. By the time you actually feel thirsty, you have usually already crossed that 1 to 2% line. Thirst is not an early warning. It is your body finally raising its voice after quietly struggling for a while. The effect is bigger than most people expect. In one study, drivers who were only mildly dehydrated made roughly the same number of mistakes behind the wheel as drivers who were slightly over the drink-drive limit. A dry brain and a tipsy one can be surprisingly hard to tell apart. That is how much your thinking leans on something as simple as a glass of water. Once the shortage sets in, your body flips into a kind of survival mode, and the first job is to stop the leak. Your kidneys are the water managers, and they get an order from a hormone called vasopressin. The message is simple: save everything. So the kidneys stop flushing water out into your bladder and instead wring it back into your blood. This is why your urine turns dark and scarce when you are dehydrated. That deep yellow color is not random. It is the visible sign of your kidneys rationing, sending out as little water as they possibly can. Next, your body throttles back your sweating, because sweat is expensive water it can no longer afford to spend. That sounds sensible, except sweat is also your air conditioning. Evaporating sweat is how you dump heat. Turn it down, and your core temperature starts to creep up. On a hot day or during exercise, this is where dehydration gets genuinely dangerous, because the very system that stops you overheating has been switched off to conserve fluid. You are trading cooling for water, and you cannot have both. Then there is your blood. Blood is mostly water, so as you dry out, there is simply less of it, and what remains gets thicker and stickier. Picture trying to pump syrup instead of juice. Thicker blood is harder to push around, and your blood pressure starts to sag. Your heart's answer is to beat faster, working harder to keep enough oxygen flowing to everywhere it needs to go. So a body running low on water ends up with a racing heart, rising heat, and darkening urine all at once. None of this is malfunction. It is a body triaging itself, spending its last reserves as carefully as it can. If you keep going without water, the rationing turns inward, right down to the level of your cells. And this is where it gets unsettling, because your body starts taking water from itself. Every cell you have is basically a tiny water balloon. Normally, the salt levels inside and outside your cells are balanced. But as you dehydrate, the water left in your blood gets saltier and saltier. Water always tries to move toward where the salt is more concentrated, so it begins seeping out of your cells and into your bloodstream to even things out. Your body is effectively draining its own cells to keep the blood flowing. Those cells shrink, and that includes the cells of your brain. As your brain loses water, it physically pulls back a little from the inside of your skull, tugging on the membranes and blood vessels that anchor it. Your brain itself cannot feel pain, but those coverings can, And that gentle tugging is a big reason a dehydration headache hurts the way it does. Your head is literally telling you it is running dry. Push past around 5 to 8% water loss, and the symptoms stack up fast. Real fatigue, dizziness, a pounding head. Beyond 10%, things turn serious. Thinking clouds into confusion, organs start to struggle, and the kidneys that were working so hard to save you begin to fail themselves. Death arrives somewhere around 15 to 25% water loss. To put that in perspective, losing a quarter of your body's water is fatal, while losing a quarter of your body's fat would just make you slimmer. Water is not a comfort, it is a deadline. How long does that deadline take to arrive? You have probably heard the rule of threes. 3 minutes without air, 3 days without water, 3 weeks without food. The water number is only a rough guide. In brutal desert heat, with your cooling system fighting a losing battle, you might last barely a day. Resting somewhere cool and shaded, people have survived closer to a week or even beyond. Your body is not counting days, it is counting percentages of water lost. Now for the twist that catches almost everyone out. Because after all this, you might think the lesson is simply to drink as much water as humanly possible. It is not, and getting it wrong can also kill you. If you chug far more water than your kidneys can handle, faster than they can pass it, you dilute the salt in your blood until it is too weak. Now the whole process runs in reverse. Instead of water leaving your cells, it floods into them, and they swell. In most of your body, there is a little room to stretch. In your brain, sealed inside a rigid skull, there is not. A swelling brain has nowhere to go, and the pressure can be deadly. It is called water intoxication, and it has genuinely killed healthy people. In one infamous case, a woman died after a radio station contest that dared people to drink as much water as they could without going to the bathroom. She was not sick. She simply drank far too much, too fast, and her body could not keep up. There is even a floor beneath all of this, because your kidneys need a certain minimum of water just to flush out waste. Drink nothing, and toxins build up. Drink far too much, and you drown your own cells. So the real picture is not a simple gauge you want to keep as full as possible. Your body is chasing a narrow band of balance, with dehydration on one side and overdilution on the other, and it will fight hard in both directions to stay in the middle. That plain glass of water is your body holding that line. Your body explained. This is Bodyling.